What's going on, everybody? All right. 2020 is 1984. George Orwell's 1984. So I've been reading this book, 1984, and I'm about halfway through it. If you guys don't believe me, there it is. Proof is in the pudding. This video is going to be scripted, so I got some notes here. Overall, this story has brought about some very compelling ideas about what is going on in today's age, and maybe it's been going on for like the last 10 years, maybe even more. The preliminary idea of what George Orwell was trying to get across was what would happen in a totalitarian government, and I felt inspired to talk about a few ideas that George Orwell came up with in this book. And one of them is about the totalitarian government, and what is described in this book in the land of Oceania, where our main protagonist lives, is Big Brother is the all-seeing eye, the all-seeing government. Okay? Basically, they are watching you 24/7. They even mandate out thought police. So even if you think something wrong that isn't lined up with the beliefs of Big Brother and what they expect you to do and be and say in the state of Oceania, it is terms for legal extermination or jail time. So, I mean, that's just one example and one idea. They have people like the thought police that are basically like undercover secret agents of the government or Big Brother. Now, a couple funny concepts of just the slogan name Big Brother. I remember when I was a kid, they had this reality TV show towards like the late 90s, early 2000s, all right? And they called it Big Brother. And it was a reality TV show about people being constantly monitored and watched. And I just thought that when I read this, just getting into the book, reading about the totalitarian government and the idea of the government's name being called Big Brother, and how Big Brother is the savior in the all-seeing eye of Oceania, in the story, it just kind of blew my mind. I was like thinking, dude, I didn't hear about the slogan until until I started reading this book. But this book was written back in the 1940s. And the future that George Orwell was talking about was we were going to start having these kinds of things like telescreens and even these, our smartphones, in the year 1984. He wrote this book way beyond his time. This guy was a genius, not just an amazing literate artist as an author with his way of words, but he was writing way before his time. Way before his time. And so Big Brother was a reality TV show from what I remember as far as that slogan name goes, that paraphrase made up name, back in the early, late 90s, early 2000s, when they made this reality TV show. And it may have been along the same streamlined name of Real World through MTV, where they film and make a drama out of people's lives on camera. And so it's just kind of interesting how they had to stay in this house and they were constantly monitored on everything that they were doing or saying and talking amongst each other as a reality TV show. And I mean, there's been more duplicates of it. They just didn't call it that name. You know, but I think that the concept of always being constantly watched is very eye-opening. And I mean, I could even dive a little bit further into it as far as the conspiracy theory goes, but I'm not really going to. I did kind of want to give you guys some ideas as well. I'm sure that you guys probably know more about it than I do. But, I mean, Snowden, in his book Permanent Record, talked about how whether it's a webcam on a laptop or on your desktop or on your phone, these cameras on these smartphones are never turned off, even if your phone is completely turned off, even if your computer is completely shut down. They can turn on that camera at any time that they want to and see what's going on. And that's like, so to say, like the government's wondering what you're doing, you know? So, just an idea of always being constantly watched and monitored. But if things don't line up, as far as the story goes, and the totalitarian government, it'll backfire on you because they want to basically treat you like a robot. That's how the story goes. And so this character goes through this part of the story. I'm kind of giving a spoiler here, but goes through this part of the story where he finally finds out that there was actually a truth where things in Oceania weren't always as they were, especially before the war and things that came about in the story that I won't talk about yet. So that way you guys can read it. And things weren't actually like this. They weren't in this way where people were monitored and they couldn't even think correctly or have a false expression on their face. So just some weird concepts that I've seen transition into our day-to-day society with 2020. And so it's just kind of interesting to think about. The only other thing I'm going to talk about is the concept and slogan that they call Newspeak in the book, where Newspeak literally means being politically correct, and we talk about this in our culture and our society. You have to be politically correct, otherwise you will be offending people. You will get offended by this, by what you say, or having an opinion. Everybody has an opinion. I have an opinion, even though it probably doesn't matter to you guys that are watching this right now, alright? I'm just putting this video out on YouTube. You know, and Newspeak was the new slogan that basically said that they had a series of vocabulary or a constant changing in their words, in their not dialect, but in their words, where they had to speak a certain way. They could not say anything that was out of line. They couldn't have a freedom thought, and I might be saying that right or wrong. A freedom thought was something that was not associated with Newspeak. Newspeak was the new vocabulary and the new way of speaking. Similar ideas to being politically correct here in society, otherwise you're just going to offend people with your words and your opinions. And so Big Brother made it a point to make Newspeak the new way of talking and interacting with fellow comrades. They don't call them people, they call them comrades because of the party and the belief in the party. And the party runs Big Brother. Big Brother's behind the scenes, but the party is a part of Big Brother. And that's some other concepts in the book. And so these two things just kind of blew my mind with the fact of having Newspeak, this agenda, being constantly monitored, being interconnected. Every waking moment you're being watched. And it's sad to say that we have a lot of this stuff kind of going on currently today. So don't write off this book, guys. I highly encourage you guys to read it. I'm only halfway through it. I plan on finishing it and doing a book review later. And actually, guys, if you can, leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you guys want to see me do a book review on this, on 1984, and I will do it. As a side note, something that happened to me that was kind of weird and serendipitous, but I finished watching a movie called Antitrust. And one part in the movie, it's basically about a coder who goes to work for this company called Synapse, who wants to make available satellite internet connections worldwide versus just regular dial-up. And this movie was made back in the early 2000s. The year was like 2001 when this movie came out. Bunch of big name actors in there if you watch it. One part of the movie is, so this coder goes in to find out and dig up some old files and video files based on what the company was doing behind the scenes, and he finds out some hidden video footage about them spying on other coders that were actually getting ahead of this company, and so they were trying to stop them. This company was, but this coder discovered it. And one of the and this is the serendipitous part, how he accessed all the files, whether it was records or video feed, from them spying on other coders outside of the company. The last digits he typed in, along with the string of code, if I'm saying this right, I could be saying this wrong, but the last 4 digits that he typed in on that string of code was 1984. What book am I reading? Call me crazy, don't call it a serendipitous moment or acts of events, but the movie Antitrust had some similar concepts and ideas that I'm reading about in this story. Last thing before I close the video. If we're not careful, guys, with our future and the generations that are going to be coming ahead of us, our children and our children's children, this story will become our new reality. So, give your opinions. Know your rights. Don't let this story become our reality. So, a lot of can of worms probably, but it was just some ideas I wanted to get out for everybody. So, enjoy. Hope you guys liked the video. If you guys haven't yet, like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope you guys have a good night. Take care.